Only in America.
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 Welcome back to Only in America and part 2 of my conversation with my mom. This time she tells me more about her experiences as an immigrant to the US in the 1970s and the challenges that come with living on the other side of the world from your family.
So we got my ticket, I packed my bags, we were getting ready to leave for the airport and the mailman came. And he brought 2 letters, one from Fiji auntie and one from Chachu. And they didn't know each other. The letters, the content was exactly the same thing. Don't come. The country's in bad shape, you might be stuck here.
From the National Immigration Forum, I'm Noorani. This is part 2 of the special Mother's Day episode of Only in America. I spent the last couple of months social distancing in California with my parents, spending a lot of time enjoying my mom's cooking and hearing her stories. In between MacGyver episodes, afternoon walks, and cooking lessons, we sliced open a mango, turned on the recorder, and chatted. In case you missed it, you can tune in to part 1 of this conversation at immigrationforum.org/podcast or on any of your favorite podcasting platforms. We talked for a long time about her experience as an immigrant in the U.S. and how she and my dad built their family, their life, and their physical therapy practice here in the States. Later on, she told me more about the hardships that come from being far away from the rest of her family. So what was it like growing up in Salinas with, the joke that I always tell is that the South Asian community I grew up with was my sisters and my parents. So what was that like for you?
There weren't very many people, and because we were so busy in our own life that we didn't go looking. And when Dada and Dadima came...
When year did they come?
They came in, the first time they came was in 75. Mm-hmm. Just before Zeba was born. I think they came that summer.
And these are Dad's parents.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They would go to the grocery store or anywhere and see somebody. They'd go up and talk and make friends. And so through them, we met the community.
Did you ever wish you'd moved to LA or San Jose or San Francisco where there's a larger Pakistani community? Mm-hmm. Why not?
Because I liked where I was. I really liked Santa Cruz. It was a very friendly place. Salinas was still very conservative, and but we had good neighbors in Salinas where we were living. And so it was okay. It worked out.
Did you ever think like we, the kids, were missing something by not growing up in a Pakistani community?
I did. But Dad was never very traditional and didn't believe in all these traditions. So, like Dadima always wanted to celebrate Eid and Ramadan and all that. And Dada and Dad. And it was fine. Mm-hmm.
That is good mango.
Mm-hmm. I feel sometimes that I wish I had pushed it and at least introduced you to more and at least get the basis of religion.
That's a very nice way of saying I'm just a morally, empty person, but thanks, Mom.
No. When Najma came, she...
Oh, yes, I remember. Yeah.
Taught you the kalma and all that. Mm-hmm. But...
So what is it like when, Zeba and Fellow, obviously my sisters, so people know, they're raising their families, their girls, with probably a greater connection to the culture than where we were raised?
That's good.
Why?
Because I think they should know something from where they came and their culture, where their parents came from, and that they have the choice.
Mm-hmm. Is that a reason why we always, you took us back to Karachi? I felt like we were there every couple of years.
Usually every 3 years.
Yeah. What was that first trip back like for you?
Lots of nostalgia. Huh? It's good to be there, see family and friends and introduce you to that culture. Sad thing was that we couldn't really show you the country or do much because we were so involved with seeing family. There was so much family and friends, and we were there for such short times that you couldn't see. But it was my thing was that it was you got to see what the other side of the world was and how they lived. And I noticed every time we came back, even though it was such a short visit, it made an impression on you kids. You were more appreciative of what you had. It didn't last very long. But at least you got that, and I think in the back of your mind, it stayed.
Okay.
I think in the back of your mind, it did stay and register, but outwardly you lost it very fast. So it was good.
So let's say, your granddaughters, Aisha, Anaya, and Aziz are listening to this in 30 years. What's the one or two things that you want them to remember about the journey that you and Dad took? What are the one or two things that you want your granddaughters to remember?
That life is tough, but if you work at it, work hard, you survive and you do well. And not to give up. You can do what you want if you work hard.
And there's also, let me kind of go back to the example of like the Grandma Tamar or the Gladys. Because, whenever we're talking like this, you always, for me at least, it's always triggered by the stories that you tell of the people that you met. And, kind of how unlikely that was. It seems, I don't know, maybe that's for me is just an assumption, but...
You mean how unlikely it is to meet such good people?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to get at is that when you came, and whether it's in Santa Cruz or in Salinas, it's a very lonely and courageous thing to do. But then there's something that you meet people who more than just want to help, right? It wasn't a service to them, right?
No, they wanted to learn about where
That's
we
it.
came from, and we wanted to learn from them.
There's like a curiosity.
Yeah. We were very, very fortunate. We met some very nice people who helped us a lot and been friends for life. Like Grandma Mary and Grandpa Leonard. They lived in Santa Cruz for so many years in Bakersfield. They'd never been to the city, to San Francisco. And so when we went for our citizenship, orals or whatever, the requirement was you have to bring 2 citizens with you to vouch for you. So Grandma Mary and Grandma Leonard went with us.
Really?
Yeah.
This is their first trip.
Their first trip to San Francisco. They had never been to San Francisco.
So these are, just a little context. These are migrants from Oklahoma who had a farm in Oklahoma, who spent years in Bakersfield, ended up living across the street from you in Santa Cruz, and they were your witnesses at your naturalization test. What was that like for them? Did you ask them, or did they?
We asked them. We were so close, and like I said, they adopted us. And Grandma Mary always said, "I'm so fortunate. My son married my daughter." She felt so much for both of us. And there's so many ways that, it showed. And so we asked them to go with us. And they came and vouched for us. And
What was their reaction to San Francisco?
I don't remember. We drove them around a little bit after the interview. And yeah, fine. It wasn't something that they wanted to see or anything. It was just, all the way through life over here. We've been here almost 50 years. And we met just wonderful people who become good friends and treasures for us. We're very fortunate. Not everybody has that.
And as family was, whether it's Dada and Dadima or cousins or others were coming to the U.S., did you feel a responsibility to help them settle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever came after us, whatever way we could help. It's the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like people these days are as curious as they were back then?
Some people are, but now there are so many of us over here that it's not a novelty anymore.
Yeah.
Even then, some people are, want to know more about where you're from, what kind of food you have, and all that. But, they can get our food anywhere now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that big a novelty. We, at the Y, they used to have international programs, and every time they would pick a country and make food from that country. And I remember there was they decided to do German ones. This lady handed out recipes, and we all had to make a batch of it. It was an experience.
What was the recipe? Do you remember the recipe?
No, I don't. But it was fun. We had a good time. And Dad was in the JCs in Salinas. And they used to have international dinners. So 1 month, Dad volunteered that we would cook. Like, for 70 people. And I've
For 70 people?
never done it. Oh, we'll come and help you. So some of the women came. They couldn't help much, cut up a little bit here and there. And we were in Salinas. Baby auntie was in Santa Cruz, so I asked her for help. So she came over. And we made chicken curry, and I forget what else. And then Razia auntie, Bari, she offered to. So she made one dish which was super hot, spicy. But we got it together.
Yeah.
It was fun when it was all over.
So what was your reaction when Dad told you he had volunteered you all to cook for 70 people?
I said, oh, we can do it. We can do it. People, the other women will come and help. I said, you're right. It wasn't too bad. We managed. I think baby auntie was a big help.
Mm-hmm. So would you have done it again? And I'm not talking about cooking for the 70 people, but looking back, was it the right decision to come to the U.S.?
I think so. Life is tough back then. Even people with a lot of money, sure they have help. The place, it's so unstable, with the strikes and all that. The workers don't show up and you're left with, everything to do. It's a day-to-day stress.
Mm-hmm.
Even when they come, you have to supervise.
But would you have been able to start the business here that you did there?
Dad had his own practice over there also.
I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah, short time, but he did. He used to do home visits and see patients, so he did. It was, a battle, uphill battle. Even the Physical Therapy Society, I think Dad started as more or less, and the doctors were very threatened by the therapists, and so it was a.
Do you remember the conversation that you and Dad had where you decided to come to the U.S.?
See, we got engaged, and then before we got married, I think they must have talked at home or something. I don't remember details, but they decided that they would come to the States as, the family, the whole family, because Uncle Hamid was here, Auntie Neelu was here.
Oh, Dad's family. Okay, they all decided, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so Dad had applied, and he got visa approval. At that time, it was easy. He got approval on his professional basis. And so before we got married, he had it. And then we had a year time to make up our mind and leave. That year, the thing was cancelled at the end of the year. So he came and talked to my parents, and my father said, go, there's nothing here, just go. And so we got married and then went ahead with the process. And then when it came time to leave, my father said, why do you have to go all the way there? Why can't you go somewhere closer, But he gave his blessings.
Your mom?
It was hard for my mother, but she never said in so many words that don't go. And my dad he used to write to me every week. Every Friday, I used to get a letter from him. And he died a year after we came here. We came June 19th, and he died July 9th of the next year. And that was very difficult because things were so bad in Pakistan at that time. And he was in the hospital, and he told them not to let me know because I would worry and want to rush back. So they didn't tell me he was in the hospital. I found out that he had passed away 2 weeks after he did. And that was Dada wrote to Uncle Hamid and gave him the news. And he said, break it to her gently. Because everybody knew I was very close to my father. So we were in the apartments at that time. Uncle Hamid called. Gladys was staying with us at that time because she was in the process of selling her house. Bob had already gone to Colorado. So we said, you stay with us. And we were sitting there talking, and Uncle Hamid called, and Dad picked up the phone and said, I mean, not a word, just, agreeing. And then he put the phone down. I said, who was it? I said, I'll be right back. I'm going to throw the garbage. And he went and he was gone. For almost half an hour, he didn't know how to tell me. Then when he finally came back, I said, sit down. I said, who was it? He told me. I said, okay. It just went over my head. It didn't hit me at all. I just got up and went around doing what I was doing. Both Gladys and Dad looking at each other. And it was evening. Then the doorbell rang after about an hour, 2 hours. I went to open the door. It was Uncle Hamid. I was surprised to see him. And he said, I'm so sorry. And he gave me a hug.
He drove all the way down from Livermore? Really? Mm-hmm.
That's when I broke down. Mm-hmm. Then he said, I came to have dinner with you. I want you to cook. And Dad said, let's go out. I said, no, I want her to cook. Mm-hmm. So I remember I made keema. We had keema and roti for dinner. And then before he left, he said, if you want to go home, I'll pay for the ticket. Because he knew we didn't have any money at that time. Mm. So then Dad said, what do you want to do? And I said, yes, I want to go. Because, they have the 40-day prayers. Mm-hmm. I said, I'll make it for that. So we got my ticket. I packed my bags. We were getting ready to leave for the airport. And the mailman came. And he brought 2 letters. One from PJ Auntie and one from Chachu. And they didn't know each other. The letters, the content was exactly the same thing. Don't come. The country's in bad shape. You might be stuck here. So I looked at Dad and I said, what should I do? And he said, it's up to you. I can't ask you to go and I can't ask you to stay. It's up to you. So I thought about it. And I thought, both of them are saying it, then it has to be. If I get stuck there, they'll worry, and Dad will worry here. And I can't really do anything by going. It was just for my own satisfaction. So I didn't go. At that time, it was easy to get a refund and everything. But communication was so difficult that after we got the news, I wanted to call and talk to Ma, and we didn't have a phone at the house. So I called the office. To talk to people over there, you had to call the local operator who called New York, who called London, who called Pakistan, Karachi. And then set up a call and they gave you a time. So we got a booking for a call 3 days later and no set time from 4 to 8 in the evening. anytime. And you had to sit by the phone for the operator to call you and say, here, your call's there. And we got through. Ma couldn't go to the office, so I spoke to Bobby Mama. For 3 minutes, $15, $5 a minute. And it didn't, you couldn't talk much. It was that difficult. Now you could just pick it up and dial and know, for free if you use the right one. That was really hard, really tough. And then the first time I went back was in 1974, August. And my mama was getting married. So I took you and we went. And I wrote to Bobby Mamu and I said, I want to go to the cemetery straight from the airport. And he said, no. He said, women don't go to the cemetery. I said, I want to. So then Dada heard about it and he wrote and said, don't worry, I'll take you. So we got there at that time. The flight used to get there like 4 a.m. or something like that. So we went to Dada's house. We had breakfast. Dada, Bobby Mamu, and I went to the cemetery. And I found my peace then. It was tough.
Well, thank you for sharing the story of the mango. I had never heard this. Yeah. So the only thing that I ask of kind of all the guests of the podcast is just to finish a sentence. The last question. And the sentence begins, only in America, ...
So what should I say?
Whatever you'd like to say.
Only in America you can get where you want to with hard work and fulfill your dreams.
Thank you, Mom.
Oh my goodness, I talked to her for 1 hour.
You could have kept talking. You were just warming up. Najma Noorani is my mom. She's awesome. And you can find more information about her at our website, immigrationforum.org/podcast. And while you're there, subscribe to Only in America to hear all of the latest episodes. Tune in next week as we continue talking about immigrant contributions to healthcare in the U.S. Only in America is produced and edited by Joanna Taylor and Megan Wetmore. I'm Ali Noorani. I guess I was produced and continue to be edited by my mom. Thank you. Love you. And I will talk to you all next week.